Thanks for stopping by and checking out this review. Today's video is going to be taking a look at a new guitar that I recently got, which is a Boden 8 Metal. I've seen a bunch of videos recently of different guitar players playing 8-string guitars and thought it'd be cool to give it a try. I've owned a Boden Original 7 with a tremolo for a little over a year, and I've been gigging it and wrote a bunch of original songs on it and absolutely love the way the Endureneck plays and the way the whole build quality of the whole guitar is. Because of how much I liked the Endureneck, I decided Strandberg was really the only company I'd like to try an 8-string on. The 8-string Strandberg model that I ended up landing on was a Boden Metal 8 in white pearl. This guitar has a basswood body with a maple top and an ebony fingerboard with a roasted maple neck. This guitar also is my first one that I've owned and even actually played on that has Fishman Fluence pickups. I know they've kind of been, on all different guitar companies and everybody's been raving about them, so I was excited to give those pickups a try. This guitar has a 3-way pickup selector switch and dual push-pull pots. We'll talk about those in a second because I both like and hate them all at the same time. My favorite thing about all Strandberg guitars, or really just headless guitars in general, are just how compact and light they are. My 7-string Strandberg really does feel like a toy because it's so light. Whereas the 8-string has a little bit more weight, it's still extremely light and unbelievably compact. I can only imagine how heavy an 8-string guitar with the headstock and all the tuners and all the other stuff must weigh. This guitar really is incredibly comfortable to play and very easy to get used to with the extra string. So I think I'll just run through a few things that I really like about the guitar and then talk about those couple things that I don't like. The first thing that I like is that on the back for the cavity, they've replaced it with a metal cavity that is a little bit more sturdy than the older design, which my Korean-made 7-string has, which is this part that the jack is connected to is wood. The location of the strap pins on Strandberg guitars are very cool as well. It really picks the guitar up and moves it away from your body slightly and makes playing in the upper part of the neck much easier than your standard strap points, which would be, on like the top part of the horn here and then on the bottom one over there. The other big thing to talk about the Strandberg guitar is the Endureneck. I totally understand that for some people, they're just not really gonna like it, especially if you're used to like an Ibanez Wizard neck that's extremely thin. The neck is kind of chunky and kind of thick, but because of the sort of three-dimensional nature to it, once you get where to put your thumb, it makes bending extremely easy. You've got this sort of leverage over the neck in a way that you don't have on any other guitar. It also makes your wrist end up being straighter more often when you're playing. Again, that has a little something to do with the way that the strap pin connects to it. It moves the guitar out away from your body in a way that just puts less pressure on your wrist. But that said, if you really like a thin neck, this is not a thin neck at all. But because of that edge, it feels thin when you need it to feel thin, if that makes any kind of sense. On the neck of the guitar, we have 24 stainless steel frets and then luminlay inlays both in the front of the fingerboard but also in the top part, which is really important. If you play on any sort of dark stages, taking 2 seconds either using your phone light or you can buy the dedicated luminlay flashlight to light them up, is really cool, especially if we're on stage where there's already bright lights. A lot of the times I don't even have to use the flashlight trick to charge them. Just the lights that are on stage is going to charge it as you play, and then when it goes dark, it's great to be able to look down and know exactly where you're at, especially on an 8-string guitar because it is quite a lot of strings, especially if you're going to be going from a 6-string guitar jumping all the way to an 8. It might be a little overwhelming at first. Since my other Strandberg is a tremolo, this is the first fixed bridge Strandberg that I've owned, and the operation is extremely easy. It comes with a T-wrench, so if you're going to change strings, it really is very quick, especially if you break a string at a gig. The build quality is fantastic. All the components are machined to a really high quality. The screw is very smooth as you either loosen or tighten, and with that little Teflon kind of washer in the middle, it's real easy to get that fine sort of adjustment to get it just in tune. So this guitar has a 3-way pickup selector switch with a push-pull on the volume to get at your single coil kind of tones. On the tone knob, there's another push-pull which activates a second set of voicings inside the Fishman Fluence pickups, which I think is really cool. I don't really like push-pull on the volume knob to get those single coil settings. It doesn't really make any sense to me. You know, if you want to be on a single coil setting, but then you want to flip down to your bridge pickup, now you have to do 2 moves for 1, and that just seems really dumb to me. I really wish it came with a 5-way switch, and then just a push-pull on the tone knob to access that second set of voicings. On the track that played in the intro, I left it on the modern setting, or the push-pull pot pushed in for all of them. So whether it was the clean ambient setting in the middle section, or the aggressive metal, full gain metal guitar tone in the beginning, and then the lower gain, both crunch and lead. They're both just on the modern setting. I found for recording right into my DAW, I'm using the Archetype Pliny plugin for all the guitar tones, and I found the modern tone was really cool, and I really liked it. For gigging though, running through a tube amp, there's something about the frequency. I don't like the way it really sounds going through my Mesa Triaxis rig that I have. So I use a Triaxis, an older TC Electronic G system, and the Simul 290 power amp that goes along with that. So usually when I'm gigging, I'll leave that second push-pull pot pulled out, especially because what I've been gigging right now is in this cover band, and you know, we're playing a lot of pop tunes and stuff, and you don't necessarily want that like overly aggressive sort of a guitar tone. So I really like this. It's supposed to emulate a passive setting, and it sounds great. It sounds just like my passive Strandberg 7-string that I gig on as well. So I really like this feature. This one is really cool. It's totally really neat. There's a couple things that I don't like about the guitar. The first one is the style jack that they've switched to on the bottom. It's one of these ones that has a nut, almost like a Squire Strat. My Kiesel Vader has this same style jack. I don't like this at all. It fell apart on me at a gig, my second gig I was at when I was playing on it, and I had to take a break. My guitar basically cut out, and I essentially had to stop playing, take the guitar apart, and fix it on break to be able to finish out the night. I don't know why these guitar companies have switched to that style jack. I like the Ibanez style. My other Strandberg has it where it really kind of snaps in there. There's no nut to loosen up. I've never had a problem with that kind of a jack ever in, I don't know, 20 years of gigging. So I don't really like that nut style. I don't know if it's a cost-saving thing, if they're saving a couple bucks on each guitar and that justifies the switch or whatever. I don't like that though, especially on an instrument that costs $2,000. I really feel like it should have a better component that's more reliable. There are a couple small cosmetic things that I don't like about this particular guitar. The first is that while the frets play great and feel great, there is a little bit of a lip or a sharp kind of edge on the bottom of them by the treble side, which I'm a little surprised on. My Korean-made one, this one is made in Indonesia, isn't like that at all. It's totally smooth. There's just like a little bit of a rough kind of edge to it, so I'm a little surprised by that. It's bearable and it's not awful, but you definitely would think that the fretwork would be a little nicer, again, for a $2,000 guitar. Another small cosmetic thing is on the Endureneck, there's a sort of rough part right where your thumb ends up resting very often on that sort of edge. And that's another thing that I'm a little surprised by. My other guitar isn't like that. My other Strandberg isn't like that. It's not the end of the world. I wasn't going to return it, but, some people who might be a little bit more sticklers might have been a little bit disappointed by that and just kind of surprised by that. There's also a slight imperfection in the finish by the horn over here. I don't even think it's going to show up in the picture, but you can almost see the wood underneath it. It's like there just isn't as much white finish got sprayed in this part of the body. I've also had some problems changing the strings in the top part by the nut. For whatever reason, it's a very extreme angle to get the strings to go into the locking nuts, and then sometimes they won't go in there without, they sort of bump into the little metal sort of washer or disc that's inside it, and then some of them have actually ended up underneath the washer. There was like no way for me to get it through without it, so that was a little frustrating as well. Again, my other one isn't like that, so I'm not really sure why there's a change or why there's a difference there, but has made string changes a little bit more time consuming and frustrating. I'm sure I'll kind of get the hang of it after doing it a couple more times, but it's just a little frustrating and annoying. So far the transition to playing an 8-string guitar has been surprisingly easy. When I first transitioned from a 6-string player to a 7-string, it took me a long time to kind of wrap my head around exactly what was going on. There's probably a lack of knowledge of fingerboard in general. Obviously, I've been playing the 7-string guitar now for 10 years, so I'm obviously better and I know my way around the neck much better. But I hate to say I feel like I've been missing out this whole time. I almost think that a 7-string guitar, if you're going to tune it in standard, kind of defeats the purpose, because you're only gaining a couple notes by having that extra string. My 8-string guitar and the track that I made in the intro is in standard tuning, which is kind of the most obvious tuning. There's obviously other ones that you could put it in, but in standard it's really usable. Like, I've been using it in my cover band, and there's certain tunes where I just felt like on the 7-string I wish I had just a couple more notes to get down there. There's a lot of songs that are like in B flat minor, and now it's like you can't play that low B flat note, and it just kind of messes you up. So I found it really usable in musical situations that you might not expect it to be usable or expect it to really be cool. It's definitely more than a gimmick. I think a 9-string guitar, I feel like that's kind of dumb at that point. That's just too low. The 8-string to me is kind of like that sweet spot, especially if you're leaving it in standard tuning and you just want to be able to get down extra low every once in a while. Playing dance music with my cover band, a lot of times there's a synth bass that's going really low, like lower than a normal even 5-string would go. And this gives me the ability to kind of get down there when I need to, play some low kind of chords and complement the music in a really cool way. Obviously, this guitar is designed for metal music. The Fishman Fluence modern pickups have that in mind. And I've been really happy with how easy it was to EQ the pickups and get a good mix of the pickups on sort of a broad range of different tones. Obviously, the main one is going to be a real heavy, aggressive metal tone, but even on that like low gain, sort of soulful lead towards the end of the track, it was really, really easy. I mean, a little bit of that is testament to how good the Neural Archetype Pliny plugin really is. It's unbelievable, especially at that sort of low gain, sort of a soulful lead sound. But the pickups sounded awesome. I can't say enough good things about them. Getting used to dealing with a battery has been a little bit of a change. I've never had active pickups before. I've always preferred passive, and I still kind of do if I'm honest. But for metal music, especially if you're getting down to an 8-string, I do think the Fishman makes the most sense. You're going to get more clarity out of that low note with kind of less effort to make it sound clear than if you had like a passive pickup going on. So thanks for checking out this review of Strandberg Boden Metal 8. I highly recommend all Strandberg guitars. I know I sort of nitpicked this one a little bit. Again, it's an expensive instrument at $2,000, so I know for certain people, they're very picky. For me, I'm gonna gig the thing, I'm gonna teach on it, I'm gonna record hours worth of music, so I know it's gonna get dinged up anyway, so it didn't really matter to me. So I'm just not that picky, but some people might care. The overall build quality though is still there. Don't be scared just because it's Indonesian made. They still stack up to the tone and playability of any other manufacturer, whether it's MIJ, Ibanez, a J Custom. I've owned a bunch of J Customs, or an Ernie Ball, or a Shure, or anything like that. They really are top notch. Feel free to take a look around our channel. I've got a whole series of licks that can be purchased off our Bandcamp page, and every once in a while we're going to be putting out new music. We have a whole lot of new original music on the way as well. So please hit like and subscribe. All the YouTube stuff helps the channel continue to grow. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.